Hi everyone, it's Tony Tonkin here from the Child Protection Party. I'm glad that you could be with us today for this particular live feed. It's an important feed because today we're going to talk about making social workers accountable. Now we have at CPP have many people that complain to us, in fact almost everybody, about the way they're treated by social workers, and most social workers in this particular country are not accountable for their behaviour. We have a plan. So we just want to welcome you to, before we speak about that plan and before I introduce Avery, just want to welcome you to CPP TV. Now the reason why...
Tony, before you go ahead, are we live? Because nothing's gone on my computer.
I forgot to go live on... I always do that. But it's going live... This is going live to YouTube, so I apologise to my YouTube users because we're about to have to do it again. So I do apologise to that. I always forget to press the go live button on the YouTube, on the Facebook page, but we automatically go. So for those people who are watching this on YouTube, best of luck. You're about to have it all again, but I'm sure you'll bear with us because you're that sort of people. Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here from Child Protection Party, our second attempt at this, and I do apologise to all those people who may be watching on YouTube. Of course, there'll be thousands of you, because you're having to see it again because I forgot to punch the go live button on Facebook. But it's good to have you here because we're talking about a very important topic, which is how we can make social workers more accountable. And I have Avery to talk a little bit more about how this is going to be implemented through our Child Protection Party webpage. So just want to welcome everybody to CPP TV. So the reason why I've decided to do this, or Avery and I have both decided to do this, is that over, I guess, many years, a number of things have happened. Number one is that we have lots of people, almost everybody, talking about child protection workers in a way which is usually pretty unhelpful, in that there are behaviours that child protection workers and social workers in particular do which a lot of people find inappropriate and unhelpful to the total process. And the second reason is that there's no way by which normally we can make these people accountable. So we plan to be able to implement a program which we need you to participate in so that we can endeavour to find a way to make people accountable. Now, the reason why this is important to me is that as a social worker, I become very frustrated with the fact that I have a certain standard at which I believe social workers should work. And many of the people that I encounter, not all, I need to say that, I met this week a couple of great social workers who are doing a fabulous job and who are abiding by all the principles. But every now and again, we get people that are working in a way which is just unhelpful. And I often feel quite powerless about the way by which I can work with these people or how I can make a complaint. And I think I mentioned in a previous post, there is a particular woman here in South Australia who is the worst social worker I've ever met. And I keep coming across clients that I'm working with, and she's also supposed to be working with as well. And it's extremely frustrating because at the end of the day, this person should not be a social worker. It's as simple as that. And we meet occasionally other people who are practicing in ways that are just unhelpful. They're not representing clients. They're not acting what is in the best interest of the client and the children. And they're presenting in ways which are about controlling clients as opposed to working with them. And some basic social work principles are not being applied. So we here at the Child Protection Party have decided that what we're going to do from now on is we're going to ask you to access a particular web page which is going to provide an opportunity for you to talk about the areas that are not being addressed by this particular social worker, to name the social worker. Now, we just need to say, and Avery's going to talk more about this in a little moment, but that we're not going to publish those names, but we're going to keep them. And if we notice that there is a record, that there's a continual record around a particular social worker, we will make a complaint to the particular department in relation to that particular social worker. But it's important for us to understand, important for people to understand that this is your opportunity to complain about social work practice, how you're treated, that is impacting your ability to get your message across, to get the services that you require, and hopefully, at the end of the day, to get your kids returned to you if that's the case. So, Avery, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. Been busy all day today doing home stuff. But
that's good.
Finished with that now for the time being.
Well, you have for the next half hour anyway.
Yeah.
While you're here. But then you've got this other work that we're talking about. So perhaps if I could leave it up to you just to talk a little bit more about how this idea is going to be presented. Yep. And some of the areas that people need to think about addressing in terms of confronting social workers. And I guess the final thing I need to say, though, Avery, is that we need to make this about a person's behaviour.
Yeah.
So we can't make it about something that's nebulous, something that we can't see or we can't quantify in some particular way. So an example of that is someone raises their voice to you. And then how do you respond when someone raises their voice to you? Like what's that experience like for you? We could have another thing where people are just not listening to you, so they interrupt you, they talk over you. So they're behaviours that need to be identified because they're unhelpful in terms of this process and you having your voice amongst a system which often doesn't even hear what you have to say. Another example would be this is the most common one, I think, social workers continually revisiting your past and not focusing on what you're doing right now. So these are the types of things we want to have addressed. And if you're meeting any social worker that's doing any of these things, we're now providing an opportunity for you to discuss it with us.
Yep. Okay. The sort of things, as Tony has said, there's a whole list of things. There's about 19 that we've identified. What we're going to be doing, well, what I'll be doing later today is creating a form. I'm not sure what we're going to call Dobbin a social worker or something like that. Don't know yet exactly, but we will publish
Any ideas? If people got some ideas, let us know.
Yeah, please. What I'll be doing there is I will be asking you to give your first name, but you don't have, your last name will be there. A field will be there for your last name if you want to provide it. If you don't, that's fine. We'll be asking you for a telephone number and an email address so that we can contact you if we need to follow up on any particular aspect of what you've had to say. As Tony said, those will remain completely confidential. If any letter that we might eventually write to a child protection department, we will not be disclosing names, phone contact details of any person that's written to us on this. The thing on the form will also give you a list of the behaviours that we've identified, 19 of them, and you'll be able to just check every one that you've encountered. So if a social worker that you're working with is constantly focusing on your past, constantly judging you, and they raise their voice all the time, you just check those 3 boxes. There may be a behaviour that we haven't identified, so I'm going to give you a little box, free text where you can type in what that behavior is, and then there'll be another box where you can put a description of what the person is like. Oh, sorry. One thing I should say: we're going to ask you what state you're in and the name of the social worker, because we can't complain about generic social workers. We'd want to be able to say that Joe Smith is. We've had 20 complaints about Joe Smith behaving in this way.
And we'll need to know, Avery, the district centre as well, so where that social worker is working.
Oh, the actual office.
The office, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The final box on there will be a thing that just where you can free form write what it is that they're doing, give examples of what they've done, and then how it makes you feel. I might give you the opportunity that if you've got, I'm seriously thinking I'll do this. If you've got a letter, for example, that you've received from them and you want to upload it, we'll provide that facility as well, because everything like that that we receive will help us to build the case against a social worker who's not behaving appropriately.
Now, I just need to say, Avery, that this is not just about beating up on social workers.
No.
I noticed as a social worker myself, I would find being beaten up quite offensive. But however, I do get beaten up by the department from time to time. So one of an example for me is that I had just the other day a social worker so I've had a long-term client, just had a child removed, and she wanted to organise a meeting between me, the social worker, and the client. And as it turned out, the social worker just said, I'm not going to organise anything. I'm not even going to answer Tony's emails, So I just want people to know that I get treated badly as well by my colleagues. And, Wendy made a comment, I think, if we feel so powerless, Tony, with the knowledge that we have, speaking about us in the child protection arena, how do clients feel? And that's a really good point. I feel extremely aggrieved at times by the way the department treats me, but something has to be done. I mean, this is not about me. It's just that I have these same experiences that you do. They're just 100 times worse for clients who've simply lost their kids. But the point is that we have to do something about it. And I've been on committees. I'm on a committee at the moment, which is looking into child protection, so it's independent of the party and any of the other things I do, that are looking into child protection at the moment. And one of the things that we came to realise is that there is really no way of holding social workers to account for the work that they do. There is no way. There's no registration, Avery, at the moment. And I don't even know if that's going to happen. That's over 12 months ago. That was supposed to happen here in South Australia, and it hasn't. So I'm wondering about when that will ever happen, if at all. But we, as a party that is interested in looking after the well-being of kids, need to ensure that the people that are responsible for the looking after these kids are doing what they're supposed to do. For example, if you had a teacher in a school who was treating children badly, yelling at them, screaming at them, behaving badly, or even if they were doing that to parents, right? The education department would step in and they'd probably wind up sacking that parent or that teacher rather, or moving them elsewhere. They would take action against them. In our environment around child protection, there is no way that any government department takes significant action against those people that are enforcing the child protection legislation and who are working with, or supposedly working with, these parents. There is nothing. But we as a political party now are saying there needs to be something, and this may not, Avery, be all that significant or even all that brilliant, but at least it's a step to doing something that's going to hold them to account. Would you agree? Avery's on mute, and I've got him on the screen and he's looking elsewhere. But
yeah, my phone rang and Sasha was just calling through to let me know the phone was ringing. But because I've got it hooked up to my PC, I just hung up on a person from here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sasha didn't realise I could do that.
Wasn't all that important.
I hope not.
I hope not, yeah.
Yeah, probably my lottery win or something like that. Come and collect it.
Yeah, probably. I hope so. So I'm just saying, Avery, that, this may not be the total solution. This may not, if there are so many people out there that check into our Facebook page and our web page and all the other stuff that we do, who have got continual complaints about social workers, and there hasn't been, so they bombard us with the complaints, which is fine, and criticise them. But what we're now saying is there's an opportunity to put those complaints down in writing, to let us know who they are, so that we can, at the end of the day, if there's enough complaints about a particular social worker, and particularly if there's some complaints that are absolutely horrific, then we might take upon ourselves to write a complaint on behalf of the client. Doesn't mean we necessarily have to mention their name, but we can say a person has contacted us about this person, and these are the behaviours that this person is doing, that this person is finding harmful, hurtful, inappropriate, and affecting, in fact, the relationship that they may have in terms of their kids or getting their kids back.
Yeah. Two things. Firstly, on this form, what we don't want to have is just a general whinge about the child protection departments in your state. We want it to be specific, so if Joe Smith is acting inappropriately all the time, we want to know about that, not just I hate the child protection department because they're all paedophiles, or the sort of stuff that I often see on our Facebook page. They enable paedophiles. We don't want to hear any of that unless you can back it up. Okay. The other thought that I had.
Yeah, sorry, I just.
Oh no,
you've
gone.
I just want to affirm that. I just want to affirm that's a great point. This is not about people just having a general complaint. You have to be specific. We will ignore them.
Yeah.
We will just delete them if they're complaints that are making statements that are unfounded, that are clearly unrealistic even, we will just delete you. But we are asking for your complaints, but we want them to be specific.
Yeah, the other thought that occurred to me is based on something that you said, and that, not all social workers are bad. So I could in this form, I could give you the option, do you want to make a report about a good guy or a bad one? And then ask the appropriate questions that go with it. Please tell us about the behaviours that you were really pleased about.
Yeah, precisely.
Okay. Yeah.
So there are, because there are a number of social workers out there who actually do a really fabulous job. And we need to celebrate them as well. So if you've got, because one of the things, I had a thing years ago, Avery, where I realised that you can't always make complaints, that there are times you need to compliment people. So what I've done for years is that if I've noticed a social worker doing something really helpful, and I only did this a few weeks ago to a fabulous social worker in an office near me, who I think is working in the best possible way that she can under extreme circumstances, but is doing all the right things in terms of the client and the kids. And so I wrote to her and I let her know that she's doing a good job, in my view. And I also sent that email on to the minister as well, because they need to know that there are people out there. So if you notice someone doing a fabulous job, now look, that doesn't mean you're getting your kids back, but at least if you've got a social worker who's listening to you and understands where you're coming from, then that's a step in the right direction, right? And it doesn't hurt to acknowledge that you appreciate. Look, I tell you what, you're going to have, you're going to get a better result if you acknowledge that the work that the social worker doing is the best that they can do under the circumstances,
Yeah.
And if you get a social worker who's just crappy, then that's just another issue altogether. But if they're doing a good job, tell them.
Yep. See, from Wendy, she says, I feel so strongly about this topic, Tony, and we need to bring the Convention of the Rights of the Child into the complaint system. If they are treating the parents like this, it would be highly likely that they are also treating others the same. Specific incidents, not returning calls and emails, cancelling contact visits without explanation, not turning up to contact visits, speaking over you when you're trying to have a conversation, not letting you know about meetings that are happening, etc. That's 5 or 6 more I can tack onto that list.
I was just thinking.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. There's a few more, and people will have their own, won't they? They'll have their own pet issues with regard to how they're being treated, and they will be added to that list, so you can check off those that do apply to you. I mean, So, so Wendy's written heaps of stuff there, hasn't she? She's been a busy little beaver.
She always is.
but we just so I will report back to everybody, I think, Avery, in a week or so, just to see how this is panning out.
Yep.
So if you are serious about the issues that are concerning you in relation to child protection particularly, then this is your opportunity to voice your disapproval and for us to act on your behalf in order to have things change substantially. And I'm hoping that imagine, for example, if we had 5 complaints, Avery, about the one social worker. And I can think of that one social worker I know where we could easily put in 5 complaints. But I've complained myself about this person and nothing happens. But if 5 different people put in complaints saying exactly the same thing, and then we as a political party could take that to the minister concerned and start to advocate that that person either be appropriately supervised or be sacked, you know? And I think we have, as a political party, we have the authority, to act on behalf of our members and those people who are interested in this particular topic to do just that.
Yep. Yeah, quite agree. And I mean, to be honest, writing to the minister, I'm not convinced that's going to achieve much, given that she doesn't reply to the emails that we send her about sacking Kathy Taylor, for example.
But we could also like if we had, say, in South Australia, say we had 25, for example, complaints about social workers. That is information without naming the social workers, because we actually can't do that. But that would be information we could take to the media.
Yeah.
To complain about, and so, but if we're able to identify specific behaviours, I mean, that's stuff we could take to the educators, those people that educate social workers, so that the education system may change so that those particular issues are being addressed. So I think the information that we're going to get from people in relation to this exercise could be outstanding.
Yeah, I think so. The Australian Association of Social Workers, they're advocating for registration, are they, for all social workers?
We are. Yep, Australia-wide.
So that sort of information that we might collect through this is the sort of thing that can help back up their arguments as well.
Yeah, and there are some things that I know of that the ASW is doing, which is attempting to implement significant changes. The ASW, in fact, agrees with all the principles that we talk about in regard to practice. And there are just as many people within the ASW, I guess, who are as disappointed in the practices of our colleagues than we are. So it isn't like, but the ASW is not going to come out and support a political party.
No,
I mean,
no.
we have to do this independent of what anybody else might think that would be supportive of us.
No, I wasn't suggesting that they would support us. That information that we collect, we could send to them and say, we've done this. Yep. This is information that may be of use to you. Use it as you will.
Yeah, and I know of some social workers who are relatively high up within certain departments, I won't mention where they are, who would take on board the information that we would provide as well, who are really good practicing social workers. So there are, if without the information though, you're lost. If we haven't got this information, well then obviously there's nothing we could present that would indicate that this area particularly needs to be changed, or that there are particular social workers who should not be practicing social work.
Yeah.
You and I, Avery, can make complaints along the way, and people within the foundation could make those complaints too. But unless we have a real strong body of evidence to support our claims that they're not practicing appropriately, then it's just all hot air.
Yeah.
So now, can you just finish off as by telling us, like, have you got a sense as to when this will be available? How will you inform people that the site will be up and running?
Well, my intent is to have this live by Monday morning. I've got some other things I've got to do, foundation work as well. So my intent is to get this live by Monday. I want to be able when I create the form, before going live with it, I want to test it as well to make sure that it's behaving the way I want it to behave.
Okay,
So
so by Monday.
Earlier if I can.
Yep.
But by Monday.
Okay. So everybody, if you could just.
Oh, sorry. You asked how would I advertise it?
Yeah,
Through
yeah.
Facebook.
So we need to let people know. So we've talked about it now. We've let people know. There'll be lots of people that will join this conversation later to find out what the hell we're doing. So we need to let people know when it's operational. So
yeah, the biggest method I've got is through Facebook, because through that I can share it to, I don't know, 50, 60,000 people.
All right. And we probably could even do a newsletter, couldn't we, and send that out.
Well, talking about newsletters, we do have one scheduled to go out at the end of next week. So yes, we could certainly do one through a newsletter.
Yep. So all I can say to people is just keep your eye on our Facebook page. When Avery's finally got it up and running, which would be by Monday or Tuesday next week, won't hold him to Monday. He's a very busy man. We will then inform you. And you can then start accessing the site. So in the meantime, I think, Avery, people can start to think about... I'm just wondering whether we could just put up a Facebook page just highlighting those 20, 25, now that Wendy's given us a further list, 30 things that we want people to consider, and think about the people, the social workers they work with. And as Wendy said in one of her posts too, it's not all social workers, so... you don't have to have a social work qualification necessary to work within child protection, regretfully. So if it's any worker that you're working with, no matter who it is, make mention of them if you can, but have a look at that list that we're compiling as well. Yeah,
I'll put that up. And Wendy's just said I can add some more. I'll call Avery later today.
Good on you.
I'm going to run out of electrons doing this, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So, so everybody, that's the new plan. It will only work if you help us, though.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen by itself. And you know, I keep thinking, Avery, if you're going to complain to us, but you're not going to contribute to this, then don't complain.
Yeah.
You know, this is the most effective way that we can bring about some sort of change, by highlighting the issues and the people that are causing them. But if you're not gonna participate, just don't complain to us.
Yeah.
You know? Does that make sense?
It certainly does. It's why I said earlier on, we don't want this forum that we're going to provide, this form, to just be somewhere where you can whine about your child protection department. We want specifics so that we can use that as evidence. If we need to it's help inform our policies, and but also, as I said, we can take that to the department if we get sufficient complaints about one particular worker, and if we get a lot of praise about one particular worker, we can send that to the department.
Well, I consider that just as important. Frankly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unlikely, but we're going to go that many. But certainly, if you can find somebody that's done an outstanding job, we want to hear about that as well. And I just want to remind those people that are watching on YouTube, and any of those that do access our YouTube site, please subscribe to that site and ring the bell so that you can be informed of any future notifications or videos. All right, buddy. That's great. Right. Let's get underway. We will report back next week about how it's progressing. Maybe about Thursday next week, we'll have another live feed and we'll let you know how many we've got. We'll do an update for everybody to let you know where we stand and how it's progressing.
Yep.
Thanks, Avery. You're a gem. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take care, everybody, and be safe. Bye.